What's going on, guys? Matt back again, this time for a movie review. I recently saw SpiderMan Far From Home, and it's directed by John Watts. Let's go ahead and jump into the writing. The first thing I noticed, I have a question here. Why did that woman need Peter to take off his clothes right then and there? So, at the end, it's revealed that Nick Fury is a Skrull, and so is the girl with him. I don't know if that woman was a Skrull or why she was acting so strange. And I didn't understand why she couldn't just give Peter the suit rather than ask him to get naked. And was all that just so that other guy could walk in and take a picture of him so that we could have that entire sequence where the drone chases the bus and Peter Parker has to go out the roof and destroy it. I don't know, that I just didn't understand that. Next thing I have is Quentin and Peter go to a bar in their superhero costumes. Now I know that that bar ended up to be fake, but that doesn't seem like that's something that Peter would ever agree to do. Like right after you, as Spider-Man, finish battling a fire monster, you're going to go to a bar without changing clothes to like hide your identity. You're just going to take your mask off and sit at the bar with Mysterio, who's also in his costume. That would just seemed weird to me that they would do that. The next thing I have, this is part of the middle of the movie where I have my biggest problems with this movie. About like an hour in. It's at that bar, and it's the huge exposition dump. I have here, I would have liked to find out what Mysterio was really up to with Peter. You could have spent the second hour with Peter slowly figuring out everything that is revealed in that exposition dump. Now, Mysterio gets the glasses and gets control of the glasses from Peter. And then we see who he really is, which I didn't mind. You would think it would be over the top, but Gyllenhaal is such a good actor that he actually pulls it off. But he stands up on the bar and basically just looks into the camera and tells the audience his secret master plan and how it was all constructed. Now, I have to say his plan, it does make sense. I do like that it's not just him and that it's him and a bunch of different people pulling this off. And they even relate things from those glasses being the glasses from Civil War to the guy he's working with being the guy from the first Iron Man movie. And then I think there was another guy he was working with and they showed another flashback to another movie maybe. But I do like the interconnectedness of this whole MCU universe. They do a really good job with that. I didn't think we needed that exposition dump because the whole first hour you're kind of looking at Mysterio like, well, you figure if you know Spider-Man, if you've played any video games from the past, you know Mysterio's a bad guy. But for anyone who saw this movie and didn't know, you're kind of questioning this dude. You're like, wow, he seems like a nice guy and he's good for Peter. But then just to completely flip it on them, instead of like following Peter, having the audience follow along with Peter as he realizes it so that the audience can realize it with Peter. Instead, you get this whole exposition dump. So now we know he's bad. Peter doesn't. But then the very next scene, and this is my next note here, is everything is figured out way too quickly and conveniently when Peter is talking to MJ. Now, all in one scene, she figures out he's Spider-Man. They figure out the elementals are fake. And they figure out that Mysterio is behind it because the projector tells Peter as soon as he asks who's behind it. So they're on this bridge and MJ's like, yeah, you're Spider-Man. I figured it out. No big deal. They put it in the trailer. I don't know. Honestly, at this point, I don't care. They're at the end of this movie, they're dating. And they kind of just got through the whole Peter keeping his secret identity from her. It was sloppy. It was sloppy. But now that we're here and they're dating and he's swinging her through the city, I'm glad to be there, just as a Spider-Man fan. Um, but it was kind of sloppy. And then also in that same scene, that device that MJ found falls out, shows a smoke monster, and then Peter's immediately like, "Oh, the elementals are fake." And then he says out loud, "Well, who's behind it?" And then immediately the projector turns on again, and it shows the smoke monster again with Mysterio fighting him. Like the script answered Peter's question. And then immediately Peter's like, "Oh, Mysterio's a bad guy. I have to go alert everyone." So for an hour, you have this plot of Mysterio stopping these things from another universe. Peter helps him out. And then in back-to-back scenes, you flip-flop it rather than having Peter slowly figure out, "Oh, they're fake," and then, "Oh, Mysterio's behind it." You just drop it in the middle of the movie. That's my biggest problem. I love the first hour, and I love most of the second hour, except for everything I just talked about. I just wish that could have been handled better. The next note I have here for the writing, there's a scene between MJ and Peter on the bridge after the final battle. I like the dialogue and the acting in that scene. It's just that scene for me didn't belong there. It was odd to me that they had, and it's a pretty long scene. It's their first kiss, I think. And to me, the scene felt like it should have been placed after the battle, not like immediately after, maybe like after like the next day or something. It just felt odd to me that immediately after this huge battle, she runs onto this bridge, and nobody sees them. He takes his mask off. I guess everybody would be gone if there was a huge attack like that. So I don't know. That just looked like an odd placing for me for that scene. I would have put it the next day or later that night is when I would have had that scene. Moving on to the plot. I think I touched on this earlier. The entire sequence with the drone chasing the bus, to me, felt unnecessary unless I'm missing something. If I'm missing something, or that scene, that entire sequence added something to the movie, let me know in the comments. But I felt like you could have just had Peter get his suit and then jump to wherever they were going in the bus. I didn't need that whole sequence where he orders a drone strike on this kid for taking a picture of him with his pants off. I don't know. It's just odd to me. The next thing I have for the plot, I have here Quentin Beck's motivation is to be the greatest superhero ever? Question mark. How long does he think he can keep that up? Yeah, I have a question about his motivation. I know he wants to get back at Tony Stark, but Tony Stark's dead. So now his motivation is to be a better superhero than Tony Stark by faking it. And he wants to join the Avengers. But after he joins the Avengers, he's going to continue to fake attacks. How long does he plan to keep that up? Is that really his motivation? That's what he said when he was standing on the bar. They were going to be the greatest superhero ever. I don't know how he seemed. I don't know what he was to gain from that. I didn't understand that. Unless they're just saying that he's crazy, because I don't understand how he would keep that up. I don't know. But moving on to the pace. The pace in this movie is very good. I thought this movie ran along at a great pace. There was never, like, the drone chasing the bus scene to me did feel unnecessary, but I wasn't bored by it. There was never really a lull in this movie. You know, the first hour is interesting because you're trying to figure out Mysterio and these elementals, and they drop everything on you after that hour. And then the next hour is interesting because that's when you get my next point here, which is the cinematography. Excuse me. Spider-Man fighting Mysterio is some of the best Spider-Man action I've ever seen on film. You know, there's a lot of great action between Spider-Man and Doc Ock and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. And I like Spider-Man fighting the Green Goblin in the first one. Who did he have? Who's the bad guy in Homecoming? Yeah, this heavily outmatched the Spider-Man action in Homecoming. That sequence, the first fight between Mysterio and Spider-Man, it brought back so many memories of Mysterio in the old Spider-Man games and just reading him in comic books. There's that one sequence in particular where, the first fight where Spider-Man is standing in front of a huge sign that says Queens. And then Mysterio's fist just comes through it and hits Spider-Man through like glass that wasn't even there. I don't know if that was pulled from a comic book, like straight out, but that was so Mysterio. Like every time I've seen Spider-Man fight Mysterio, it's always been trippy like that. And then his second fight on the bridge was so cool how he closed his eyes and concentrated. And the audience you could see a little bit of the bridge hidden behind the illusion as he got closer and closer to Quentin Beck and his drones. I thought that those fight sequences were incredible. Really, really well done. That's my last note here. At the end of the day, as much as I like this movie, I'm going to have to give it a 7 out of 10. My final note is it's not as good as Homecoming, but I did like it more. I would, if you ask me which, like you have Homecoming and Far From Home to watch, I'm watching Far From Home. It's just more entertaining to me, and as like a secluded Spider-Man adventure, it's just really fun. It's really fun. There's a lot of tie-ins to the MCU, but I thought it was all done well and realistically. Overall, this movie was very well written, I thought. Other than that exposition dump, Quentin Beck's motivation, there's some questionable writing there. But as far as like tying it into the MCU, and like I believed that Quentin Beck and his team could pull this off with the technology they had and the number of people they had. So, like I said, 7 out of 10. Really, really enjoyed this movie. If you haven't seen it, I've already spoiled it for you, but I definitely recommend it. But yeah, that's my review of Spider-Man Far From Home. Please let me know what you guys think of the movie in the comments. Also, let me know if you agree or disagree with my review. Please hit the like button. I have to get some water. Hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell for future videos, and y'all have a good one.